Hi, my name's Tom, and this is a behind the scenes look at my cover of Redbone by Childish Gambino. We'll be looking at what the original concept of the project was, how I plan to achieve my performance, what specific gear and settings I used in my performance, how I set up and packed up my equipment, and what I thought of the project at the end. Due to a change of nature for this assignment as a result of the pandemic, my goal changed as well. I set out to achieve a cover of Redbone by Childish Gambino, mainly featuring the use of my talkbox. As we were already planning to perform this as a group, I had already begun practicing the song before the pandemic. Visually, I planned to create a groovy looking DIY stage, complete with lights and costumes. The overall concept was to create a performance video in the same vein as the NPR Tiny Desk performances, with more visual interest. The original song itself was already pretty funky, so the concept of the cover wouldn't be that hard to perform. I'd seen a number of people online covering songs with a talkbox, so I was looking forward to performing something just as good. I planned to achieve my performance by using what I had at my disposal at home. I had a Bluetooth speaker that had some coloured lights attached to it, so I knew that would come in handy. As for performances, I already had a number of options available from my time gigging already. As far as rehearsals went, I practiced when I was able to between assignments and general life events. I was able to practice alongside the original song and later to a backing track that I created. I had to use an extension cable and a power board to power my equipment. I used a Marshall guitar amp set to a clean tone with some reverb in the mix. Running through that, I had my MXR talkbox with the gain and volume set to the max, as I did not have a PA system to amplify the sound. I used my Aria Pro 2 guitar to produce the sounds for the talkbox, and I used an old music stand with a slim walking stick taped to it so I could attach the talkbox tube closer to my mouth. Resting atop a wide piano stool was my MacBook Air and my Novation Launch Key Mini. My MacBook was running Ableton, which I had set up to run my backing track. Using the launch key, I was able to trigger chord changes with the pads during my performance. I used an old document tray stack to elevate the launch key to a more comfortable level. I used a JBL Flip 4 Bluetooth speaker to amplify what was playing from my MacBook. Finally, I used a Verve Bluetooth speaker to produce the lights for the video. Initially, I planned to set up a power source first. I would run extension cables and power boards into the performance space but around the edges to avoid tripping hazards. Then I would set up the piano stool and the guitar amp as they were the largest pieces of equipment. After that, it was a matter of running cables to power and into pieces of technology. I ran power from the MXR talkbox, the guitar amp and the MacBook. Then I ran leads from the amp to the MXR to the guitar. After establishing a spot for my Mac, I would plug in my launch key and JBL speaker. I would make sure the launch key placement was compatible with the placement of the makeshift mic stand. All cables were run to avoid any tripping hazards. Once the performance was over, I would turn off the power and unplug and wrap cables. After that, it was just a matter of moving things back into their storage spaces. Overall, I think the final performance was alright. It definitely wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the worst thing I've done either. There were a few mistakes along the way, and the solo at the end could have been better, but it turned out to be the best take I had at the time. The difficulty of staying in time and interacting with the launch key was definitely a challenge, but I believe I got it more or less. Looking back at the initial concept, I believe I was able to achieve that to the best of my ability with what I had.